All right, all right. Welcome to the David Carmina Show. Now, we have something really special tonight. We have a make or break, really, for Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley she's a fighter. She's a fighter, but she is fighting for her life. Tonight could be either a boost to her campaign or, like DeSantis, she could be bowing out after tonight. It all depends. It all depends on how well she does in the next couple of hours. Now, both campaigns are setting expectation. Nikki Haley is thinking that, hey, listen, I'm strong. I'm closing strong. The people are behind me. I'm getting the independent vote. They're coming in. The election turnout is high. It's going to be high tonight, and that all favors Nikki Haley. Now, the Trump campaign, they're setting expectations. In fact, they're outright saying that Nikki Haley should drop out of the race. I'm going to play you a clip that was a little bit earlier recorded, and it's going to emphasize that point. Let's go ahead and start it up.
Now from the Trump headquarters in New Hampshire's entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, who of course was once a contender in this Republican race, then after suspending his campaign, endorsed former President Donald Trump. Vivek, you made that endorsement in the same speech that you dropped out. Why was it so important to you to get behind former President Trump?
Look, I think there's two America First candidates in this race since the beginning. That was Donald Trump and myself. I do think we need an outsider, a businessman in the White House to actually lead as a chief executive. The people of Iowa spoke loud and clear. I got about 8% of the vote. I think it would have been something similar in New Hampshire. I wanted to send that vote Donald Trump's direction because we need an America First leader for this movement. And so that's why I made the decision I did. I'm glad Ron DeSantis made the decision that he did. I think it's time for this primary to be over and to go on to a decisive general election victory that's going to be required to reunite this country. And so I felt like I was doing my duty and my part, and I hope that the other candidates now do theirs.
Vivek, why would you want to wrap this up so quickly? I got to think you're a capitalist, and one of the tenets of capitalism is competition. Don't you think a competition would make the party better, would make the eventual nominee better?
So I think we've had that competition. To be clear, I was in the thick
of
that competition
after one state
for nearly a year. Yes. Well, look, it was when it was that decisive. I do think that now, after going through New Hampshire, it will be a waste of resources. And so speaking as a capitalist, one of the things you look at is resource allocation. I don't think it's good to waste resources of large donors, small donors alike, funding what I really see as a fake race from here on out when the people of this country and of the GOP primary base have spoken loud and clear. I think the essence of what's happening, let's call this spade out for what it is that Nikki Haley and her supporters are playing for a scenario that nobody in the GOP and frankly, nobody in this country should be rooting for. It's that Donald Trump is somehow wrongfully eliminated from the ballot. That's the only possible scenario that Nikki Haley has to the nomination. And I think it's worth seeing that with open eyes out in the open. So tonight, a win is a win for Donald Trump. And I think that should end this primary. That's the way this should go, so we can focus on a general election where people are actually able to decide who the leader of the country actually is, rather than have resources siphoned into this primary where some of the largest Democratic supporters, the likes of Reid Hoffman, who's paying for the lawsuits against Donald Trump, are actually paying to prop up Nikki Haley via her super PAC. And one of
what we got here? Hopefully that will stop buffering. But the Trump campaign sent out my man, and he flat out said, hey, listen, I think that's what's best for the party is Nikki Haley drops out. Now, I'm not sure if that's a fair assessment.
Why was it so important?
Why would you want someone to drop out? It's her money. She has the right to vigorously campaign. She wants to be president also, just like ex-president Donald Trump. Let's see if we can go back to the interview.
Ron
I'm
DeSantis
going to
made
add
the
him
decision
back.
that he did, I think it's time for this primary to be over and to
We're
go
gonna
on to a
pick up.
general decisive general election victory that's going to be required to reunite this country. And so I felt like I was doing my duty and my part, and I hope that the other candidates now do theirs.
Vivek, why would you want to wrap this up so quickly? I got to think you're a capitalist, and one of the tenets of capitalism is competition. Don't you think a competition would make the party better, would make the eventual nominee better?
So I think we've had that competition. To be clear, I was in the
one
thick of that
race?
competition
After one state?
for nearly a year. Yes. Well, look, it was when it was that decisive. I do think that now, after going through New Hampshire, it will be a waste of resources. And so, speaking as a capitalist, one of the things you look at is resource allocation. I don't think it's good to waste resources of large donors, small donors alike, funding what I really see as a fake race from here on out, when the people of this country and of the GOP primary base have spoken loud and clear. I think the essence of what's happening, let's
but
call
it's
this
only
spade
one
out
race.
for what it is
One race.
that Nikki Haley and her supporters are playing for a scenario that nobody in the GOP and frankly nobody in this country should be rooting for. It's that Donald Trump is somehow wrongfully eliminated from the ballot. That's the only possible scenario that Nikki Haley has to the nomination, and I think it's worth seeing that with open eyes out in the open. So tonight, a win is a win for Donald Trump, and I think that should end this primary. That's the way this should go, so we can focus on a general election where people are actually able to decide who the leader of the country actually is, rather than have resources siphoned into this primary where some of the largest Democratic supporters, the likes of Reid Hoffman, who's paying for the lawsuits against Donald Trump, are actually paying to prop up Nikki Haley via her super PAC. And one of
Well, there you go again. Hopefully that does not bode how we're going to have connections tonight. He's constantly buffering.
and so that's why I made
And
the
try
decision I
one
did.
more time.
It does tend,
Yeah.
and as she's pointed,
And see if we can get him back up here.
we
Ridiculous that
continue to build that momentum
But
and
again,
head into South
while
Carolina.
I'm pulling him up,
5%
he
sure when we
wants
make a characterization, when we make a projection.
Nikki
The
Haley
choice
to
for-
drop out. He felt that, after one primary, after Iowa, where Trump won, that should be enough. That should be
Trump
enough.
is going to be something that actually unites
So,
Americans across many
Let's
stripes
go
and
one last
boundaries.
time, see if we can
And I
get
think
to
that's
him.
going to be the main
And
surprise in that second term.
If
Is
he
not only how decisive the
if
election
he buffers
result
again,
is,
we're
but
just
more
going to continue
importantly,
on.
how
I'm going
we
to
are
add him
able
back.
to reunite this country. But that starts with first reuniting the Republican Party, and that's why I believe it would be healthy at this point, not 3 months ago, not 2 months ago, but at this point, after the first two primary states have gone and delivered a clear, decisive result, to end the primary, to focus on what the Republican Party actually accomplishes in the general election. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we have a decisive general election result, and more importantly, that we reunite this country afterwards.
Vivek Ramaswamy, we thank you for your time tonight from Trump headquarters there in New Hampshire. Uniting the party is what I like to talk about now with our panel. We're joined by Hogan Gidley.
All right, so there you have it. Trump wants Haley to drop out, and I can guarantee you the reason why they want her to drop out is because they feel she's a threat. They feel she's a threat. And tonight, we're really going to have a really good idea of, is Haley a threat to Donald J. Trump? The campaigns
Terry,
are
your thoughts as we
posturing.
see some of the votes
Haley
coming in.
says
It's
that
about
this
5
is going to be a
minutes left
strong
before the
night,
polls close
and we
at
have
8
to
o'clock
define
Eastern
what is
in
strong.
New Hampshire.
What is strong is that, in my opinion, if Haley can come in tonight, after everything is said and done, and she can beat expectation. She was coming into the primary with roughly a 19% difference between her and Donald Trump. If she can come in the low teens, hell, if she can be single digit, she will have the win at her back. She's going to get funding. She's going to be able to go on. She can take a moral victory. She can take that lap, that victory lap. Say, hey, listen, with two people in the race, I am a viable candidate. So that would be a win. That would be a win for her. Now, if she get blown out, let's say 22 to 25, somewhere, anything over 22%, difference. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Funding is going to dry up, and she's going to, either limp along, or she may do a John McCain type of race where it's pretty much out of the basement, or it could be strictly interviews or something like that, because funding will dry up. That $4 million ad buy that she just spent, she may not have that anymore. So expectations is everything tonight. Everything tonight. Now the polls is closing in many places. There are some polls that are still open, and the talking heads are starting to give their analysis. Now I'm going to go to Chuck Todd. He's at the board, and he's going to cover the demographics. That's very important on this race. So let's add them. Let's check out the demographics. Is all about, again, tonight. The theme for tonight is all about expectations. Everything is about expectations. And I think Haley can pull it out. I really do. I really think that something is in the air for Nikki Haley. And I think that will come in. I'm going to have the bold prediction now. I'm going to have the bold prediction now that Haley is going to beat the House. She's going to come in single digits tonight. That is my prediction. Haley is going to come in single digits, and she is going to continue on at least to the next couple of races. Let's see if Chuck Todd agrees with me. But salute to my number one supporter, Chris. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming to the show. We're gonna have a night tonight. Let's see if we could. Let me know if you think that Hill is going to beat expectation.
Right? It's a 4-point swing, but that is a huge swing. That is the difference between a coin flip and 5 to 10 points or things like that. So we've seen there clearly was a slight overstatement, and this is why the exit polls, you want to see them after we've been able to see sample precincts. We're able to weight it to real-time data, and you get a better sense. So it's a slight shift, but it's an important shift that I think signals directionally that this is looking like an electorate that's a little more favorable to Donald Trump than it looked like an hour ago.
Just walk our viewers through this, because not enough Republicans on that side will have picked Nikki Haley in that assumption.
Well, that's been the problem. Yeah. He's been, to go back, we've had this phenomenon before, right? John McCain, everybody talked John McCain when he beat George W. Bush. John McCain won Republican voters too in New Hampshire. He didn't win a majority, but he won a plurality. This is not what's happening here. We're going to show you the breakdowns as soon as polls close. But it's basically a totally big split where Trump is beating her badly among Republicans and Haley's beating him badly among independents. So that's not the formula she needs to pull this off.
That independent number, though, Chuck, before, because we're coming up on 8 o'clock and we'll have a big announcement at 8. But that independent number, could have that been even higher, or that's look, we're already pretty high?
I believe it could. Look, sure. I mean, this is pretty high already. Okay, but I look at I've been going to New Hampshire since '96, covering them since '92. A lot of New Hampshire voters were disappointed that there wasn't one more debate. The final weekend is a huge, decisive weekend, and so I can't help but wonder, had Nikki Haley gotten that command performance on the state's only television affiliate, WMUR, the only one that broadcasts to all of New Hampshire, and she walked away from that, right? And, again, she didn't want to debate Ron DeSantis anymore. She wanted Trump there. I get it. But I just wonder, she missed some important markers in the final week that could it have been a difference, right? If she comes up short, she's going to second guess a whole bunch of stuff about her schedule, I think.
Yeah, and the ironic part is that if there was even another debate sanctioned, she wouldn't have been able to debate anyone, because Trump would have never shown up. DeSantis ends up dropping out of the race. It would have been her on the stage, but I guess she could have done a town hall or something like that.
Yeah.
We are coming on the top of the hour right now. Polls are closing, and we're standing by for our first characterization for this race.
Now, remember, they got in trouble calling the race too early last time.
We are
in
literally
Iowa.
1 second, and there it is. It is 8 o'clock on the dot. The polls have just closed there in New Hampshire. We are coming to you with an NBC News election alert at this hour. All right, this is important. The NBC News decision desk is projecting that the race is still too early to call, but that former President Trump leads. You can see those vote totals as they continue to climb. Right now, we're at 12% of the vote in right now. Former President Trump, you see it on your screen, 52% of the vote. Nikki Haley with 47% of the vote at this hour. But again, it is still very, very early.
All right. So
12%
again,
of the vote
last CNN and other networks, to be fair, took some heat for calling the race for Donald Trump well before. Well, in some cases, the polls have was still open, and they called the race. So they're not doing it this time. They're not going to do it this time. Let's see what Chuck Todd is saying at the magic wall.
The same margins, right?
Right.
The counties, the townships she's winning are not. This was one she really needed to run up the score, as you can see, and that's the difference here.
Manchester, I know, just closed. Do we have anything from Manchester?
We have a little bit coming out of Manchester. I can show you here, but
wow,
about half the
that's
vote.
somewhat interesting.
But just to let you again, so you can see here, Manchester, a little more working class. It really is more of a Trump. It would be a pretty big upset if Haley was able to carry Manchester. But again, Trump's winning by bigger margins in his areas than Haley is in her areas.
Okay. Chuck Todd, we always appreciate that. Hallie Jackson has been out and about for us in the Granite State. First, she was at a polling location. She's made her way to a watch party tonight. Hallie, talk to me about, oh, wait, it looks like it's, is that a saloon, a bar?
It's a bar.
What
Sure is.
What are you hearing from everyone there enjoying a nice beverage, if you will, and some politics to go as well?
That's the thing. Yeah, coming out to see and get a sense of like how their neighbors, how their colleagues, how their community members voted here in this big deal First in the Nation primary. It is kind of a watch party, I will tell you. There's a lot of Fox News on the TVs up here. People are tuning in to see those returns coming in, including people here like Pat, who is bellied up to the bar here. Pat, thank you for chatting with us. Sure thing. How did it go for you today voting? Tell us who you voted for and why.
I actually voted Trump because I like his policies, not necessarily the man. He's a little boastful and sometimes he can be divisive, but overall his policies worked. And I don't think Biden's are, honestly.
Did you ever consider or evaluate potentially any other candidates? Did you consider perhaps backing Nikki Haley, or were you always for former President Trump?
I actually like her too. I think people are familiar with his policies, so they might lean towards him more. But you never know. I mean, it's early voting. She could win in our state and keep going. You know, you just never know. But I think maybe she could run again, maybe down the road. I think she still has a good chance, but it might not be her time yet, you know.
Why did you come out here tonight? Was this about watching the returns come in, being with others?
Actually, I like Fox News and I like Pete Hegseth that he's here. So I saw that he was going to be here. So I'm like, maybe we can see him.
Pat, thank you so much for talking with us. We appreciate it. Obviously, a lot of folks out here tonight for a lot of different reasons, Tom. I want to bring you back here to some other folks that we're talking to as well, because one thing that we've seen throughout the course of the evening is the polls have started to close. So much interest here, right? I mean, I've heard you and Chuck talking about it, some of the folks that you have there talking about the engagement here of New Hampshire voters. That's what we're seeing as people want to know, what are the results, Tom?
Hallie Jackson for us. Hallie, we appreciate you. This is our big live remote board. Right here, they're reading out results in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. That's a city we want to watch. Let's listen in.
510. Asa Hutchinson, 0. Peter Jeddick, 0. Perry Johnson, 0. Donald Kojernis, 0. Mary Maxwell, 2. Glenn Peters, 0. S. Peterson Morell, 0. Darius Mitchell, 0. Mike Pence, 0. Vivek Ramaswamy, 2.
All right, we were just listening to the vote count in Portsmouth, but it sounds like we might have missed the two top contenders at the top. It's all right. It's a live event. Those things are happening. Speaking of live events, we have some breaking news. And Mike Memoli just spoke with the Biden new campaign manager of the re-elect team. Mike, what's the new reporting you have for us?
Yeah, Tom, I just spoke exclusively with Julie Chavez Rodriguez. She is and has been the Biden campaign manager. But one of the big stories tonight, of course, is the fact that there is some movement within the Biden senior leadership. We have Jen O'Malley Dillon, who was the deputy chief of staff at the White House, was Biden's campaign manager in 2020, will be moving to Delaware to take a senior role in the campaign, as will Mike Donnellan. He's the chief strategist for President Biden, has been for a long time. This is being described as a shakeup, and it is a significant move that the campaign is describing as an acceleration of what was already planned. And so as I spoke with Julie Chavez Rodriguez, I asked her what this means for her, what this means for the campaign. She said, listen, O'Malley Dillon and Donnellan, they are familiar names to the campaign. They are familiar names to me, that this is an all hands on deck approach now as we head into this new phase of the general election campaign. I asked her about the relationship she has with President Biden. Of course, she is the campaign manager. She briefs him at least weekly. And she said that that relationship will continue, that she's excited, that there's a great energy around the campaign, especially after what we saw tonight, which was a rally with President Biden, with Vice President Harris in Virginia, as meant to sort of set up this next phase of the campaign. And so these comments, I think, speak to what the Biden campaign is trying to characterize as sort of a full-time now, all-hands-on-deck approach to the campaign, and not necessarily a shakeup.
Okay, so Biden, of course, won. He is projected the winner. He was basically the only guy in the race, so that's a no-brainer. But Biden, here's the deal. Biden has to really start generating energy. Now, he should save his money. He could save his money now. And let Nikki and Donald let them duke it out. But soon he's going to have to do some campaigning and doing some ad spend, even if it's attack ads. Let's go to Chuck Todd.
Basically 49% of Republicans. Among those that are Republican that voted in this primary, look at this number that Trump got. He got 74% of self-identified Republicans. Haley, 25%. As you know the math, she needed over 30 now.
But that's not bad. That's not bad, but something bad did happen, right? And you're going to show us now.
It's not bad until you see this number, which here's Haley among independents. She won the independents, but as you saw here, Trump got 75% of GOPers. Haley's getting 61 there. Haley got 25% of GOPers. Trump got 37 there. So there are more Republicans than independents, and Trump did better with independents than she did with Republicans. It's basic algebra, right? We're not even, it's a little bit more than regular.
Chuck, is 15% of the vote.
You see why
15% of the vote is in.
The race the way we have.
All right, Chuck, I got to interrupt you because we have a key election alert. We just got this election alert from our decision desk. Stand by for breaking news. I think we have a call in New Hampshire. And
there we go.
It is. NBC News can project that former President Trump has now won the New Hampshire primary, defeating UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Garrett Haake is at the watch party for former President Trump in New Hampshire. The former president, now 2 for 2. Nikki Haley saying this was not going to be a coronation, that she was going to stay in the race. But it's clear when it comes to Iowa voters, New Hampshire voters, the king right now is former President Trump. What are you hearing there in the Trump watch party, the victory party now, Garrett?
Yeah, Tom, just a minute ago, the Trump campaign changed these digital billboards behind us to say Trump wins New Hampshire. And a huge cheer went up from this party that had sort of all the makings of a victory party, but now it started to get a little rowdy. Now, make no mistake, this was the expected result for the Trump campaign. They thought they would romp in New Hampshire, and we'll find out what the final margin is. But a victory in both Iowa and New Hampshire has usually been a golden ticket to the presidential nomination. And what you're seeing now is the Trump campaign already starting to pivot towards a general election. All of their messaging, including just moments ago, a statement from the super PAC supporting Donald Trump, is arguing that every day more from this moment on that this primary continues is a day that Joe Biden gets an advantage he shouldn't have, and that the Republican Party needs to coalesce around Donald Trump. I expect to hear very much that same message from the candidate when he takes the stage here later tonight. And we're hearing from an army of surrogates who are really trying to kind of close the door on this primary after just these 2 states voting. But again, another victory for Donald Trump in New Hampshire. It was the first state he won in 2016, launched him eventually towards the nomination in that year. The Trump campaign in 2024 is very much hoping this campaign now follows a similar trajectory.
All right. So here we go, guys. Here's the big question. We knew that Trump was going to win. That was a sure bet almost. Now, here the question is that two questions actually. Should Nikki Haley drop out? And if Nikki Haley does not drop out, if she wins under, or let's say she comes in under 10%, she loses by single digits, should she stay? So you guys tell me in the chat. 1 for dropout, 2 for stay, and then we're going to discuss the pros and cons of each. In the chat, guys. 1 for drop, 2 for stay. Oh, you guys don't want to make a guess. I don't blame you guys. I do not blame you. If Nikki Haley drops with a 1, then let's talk about that. Sim says that Nikki Haley should drop out. Is there anyone think if there's a 2 in there, go ahead and put a 2 if she to stay in. Now, here's the advantage of Nikki Haley dropping out, is that Donald Trump can then use all of his money and all of his spin will go toward attacking or making his positions known against the Democratic nominee, which is, of course, President Biden. He doesn't have to worry about any other competition. The Republican Party would coalesce. He would bring unity to the Republican Party. Basically, everybody will fall in line. That's the advantage of Nikki Haley. Salute, Christopher. That's the advantage of Nikki Haley dropping out. Now, if she stays in, there's some pros to that. One is that because her and Trump will have a chance to really compete head to head. If Trump becomes the eventual nominee, then he would be a much more stronger debater because he has sharpened his skill, refined his talking points against Nikki Haley. Because he's going to he's going to work in the it's always the same thing with Republicans. They're going to raise taxes, the border. You're going to lose your guns, and what else? Some type of fear mark. Oh, fentanyl. So those are the big ones. They're going to he'll be able to hammer that over and over and over again. On the Democratic side, what they're saying is that, of course, Trump he's a criminal. 91 charges against him. The economy was not all that great. They said that the economy was, thank you, lower taxes. I think I said taxes, Sim. But they're going to point out to his COVID record. They're going to point out to, him taking a lot of money from our enemies and so on and so on. So I think Nikki Haley, who is doing well, if you look at let's pull her up here. If you look at the spread with 16% in, she's in that again. She's under 10%, which is huge for her. If she could stay under 10%, I would like to see her stay in. I think that anything can happen with Trump. He can get indicted. They can find some additional things on him. Anything can happen. And she'd be the only person in the race. Let's continue on. I see if the analysis will pick up on some of my comments.
A year ago, even 3 months ago, Nikki Haley finished at whatever it's going to be, 45% in New Hampshire. I would have been shocked. I mean, she's overperformed in this campaign, but she's just, the way she's campaigned, the way she's been branded, the way she's been attacked, she's just too far over on the non-Trump side of the party, which where you can get that in a state where independents are a huge swing vote and they're coming all in because they don't have a Democratic contest, but that's just not going to be replicated elsewhere. And she's not going to be, DeSantis couldn't get enough of the Trump vote and widen into the non-Trump vote because she had it. She has a grip on the non-Trump vote, but won't be able to get further into the party to get to a winning plurality or majority places.
We know former President Trump likes to speak late on these nights, but when he does speak, Hogan, what do you think we're going to hear from him?
I think you're going to hear a very similar message to the one you heard after Iowa. He's going to thank Nikki most likely. He will also talk about the need to unify and focus on Joe Biden as he is the enemy, he believes, of this party and of this country. And I would imagine that's
Hogan, I got to interrupt you because we do have some breaking news. It looks like Nikki Haley's about to take the stage after losing New Hampshire. Here's the former UN ambassador now.
Thank you. Oh, I love you too. What a great night. God is so good all the time. Thank you, New Hampshire, for the love, the kindness, the support, and a great night here tonight. Thank you so much. I want to first say thank you to my husband, who I know is watching right now. I love you. We're excited to have you. Thank you. I want to thank my kids who are here, Rita and Nayland and Josh, who have really kind of stepped up and just given me the support I need. You really pull on your family when something like this happens, and I am incredibly blessed by their support. I have my parents at home, and I will always say that the way they raised me, to know that we lived in the best country in the world, but to also know that the best way you appreciate your blessings is to give back. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I love you so much. To my siblings, to my in-laws, to everybody back at home, to Vicki for helping me take care of Mom and Dad. Thank you for that. I will tell you, it feels like it's been a lifetime, but it has been almost a year that we've been campaigning in New Hampshire, touching every hand, answering every question, being the last person to leave. And we had the most amazing thing happen is the second that we got the endorsement from Governor Chris Sununu. I mean, a true governor that doesn't stand behind a podium. He shows up at a diner. He shows up at the brewery. He loves the people of New Hampshire. He has been with me every single day at every single event. Chris, I couldn't have done it without you. And I want to thank someone who was with me on day one. He's a patriot. He's a hardcore conservative. And he is my friend, General Don Bolduc. And Sharon, thank you so much. I want to congratulate Donald Trump on his victory tonight. He earned it, and I want to acknowledge that. Now, you've all heard the chatter among the political class. They're falling all over themselves, saying this race is over. Well, I have news for all of them. New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. the next one is my sweet state of South Carolina. At one point in this campaign, there were 14 of us running, and we were at 2% in the polls. Well, I'm a fighter. And I'm scrappy. And now we're the last one standing next to Donald Trump. And today we got close to half of the vote. We still have a ways to go, but we keep moving up. For a lot of people, politics is way too personal. It's not personal for me. I voted for Trump twice. I was proud to serve America in his cabinet. I agree with many of his policies. I decided to run because I'm worried about the future of our country and because it's time to put the negativity and chaos behind us.
Okay, this is her standard stump speech.
We have an economy that's crushing middle-class Americans. We have a border that is totally open and dangerous, creating a disaster in our country.
Unbelievable.
We have schools that are failing too many of our children, and we have a world on fire with a war in Europe and the Middle East and a huge and growing threat from China. And then you look at Washington, D.C. We have a Congress that fights about everything and accomplishes nothing.
That is true.
And we have Joe Biden in the White House making one bad decision after another, when he's making any decisions at all. Our country's in a real mess. And the question is, who's going to fix it? With Donald Trump, Republicans have lost almost every competitive election. We lost the Senate. We lost the House. We lost the White House. We lost in 2018. We lost in 2020. And we lost in 2022. The worst kept secret in politics is how badly the Democrats want to run against Donald Trump. They know Trump is the only Republican in the country who Joe Biden can defeat. You can't fix the mess if you don't win an election. A Trump nomination is a Biden win and a Kamala Harris presidency. I defeat Biden handily. With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet, that senior moment. You can't fix Joe Biden's chaos with Republican chaos. The other day, Donald Trump accused me of not providing security at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75. Trump claims he'd do better than me in one of those tests. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But if he thinks that, then he should have no problem standing on a debate stage with me.
Oh, she calling him out. She calling him out.
Most Americans do not want a rematch between Biden and Trump. The first party to retire its 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins this election.
Oh, wow.
And I think it should be the Republicans that win this election. So our fight is not over because we have a country to save. In the next 2 months, millions of voters in over 20 states will have their say. Yes. We should honor them and allow them to vote. And guess what? In the next 2 months, Joe Biden isn't going to get any younger or any better. We'll have all the time we need to defeat Joe Biden. When we get to South Carolina, Donald Trump's going to have a harder time falsely attacking me. The great people of South Carolina know I cut their taxes. They know I signed the toughest illegal immigration bill in the country. They know we passed voter ID and tort reform and ethics reform. And they know we moved 35,000 people from welfare to work.
We've just been listening to former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley deliver her concession speech there in New Hampshire, but making it very clear she is not going anywhere. She is staying in this race and using this time to thank her supporters, thank her family, but then going full throttle against Donald Trump, saying that she would take a mental competency test.
That was not a concession speech. That was a woman that is going to stay in for the long haul. Now, it all depends on how her money runs out. The funding. We do know that she did a $4 million ad buy to South Carolina. She admitted that. And she is really, really, really keen on going into her to the next contest. So it really is all at this point, really is how she ends the night. If she is going to beat that David Carmina imposed 10%. If she can come in and by losing by less than 10%, guys, she is going to do that. That's going to be really good. That's going to be win at us. In fact, she can declare victory. She can declare victory. She can come in and say, hey, listen, I beat all expectations. They thought I was going to win by 20, lose by 20 points. They thought all these things. And come to find out, I was within striking distance. They can say this guy had everybody against me. The guy had people kissing the ring. Everyone was against me. And yet I managed to come in and outperform my expectations. That's what she can say. And you know what, guys? She'll be right. She would be right. She would be right. Now, I would like to go and listen to the rest of her speech. Let's go ahead and go over to here and see if she is they're going to let her finish up her speech and see if it's more of the stump speech. Let's continue on.
That's when she challenged him to the debate stage, putting it out there for Trump.
So
If
they're
you
not going to
think
let her
you're more
finish her speech.
competent, take the stage against her.
Look like
She's
he's
headed
wrapping
home
up
to South
now.
Carolina, where she talked about the fact that she has long been the candidate fighting the uphill battle. She's used to being
Oh yeah,
the underdog. She has been the underdog in
yes,
every
Tim.
race
She's
that she has
defiant.
ever run in. And in South Carolina, you know, Lindsay, I'm a
She's
native South
defiant,
Carolina.
and
The people of South Carolina know Nikki Haley, and they know
that
what
too,
she
Christopher.
did for
She's
the
a woman,
state.
and
She's
guess
made
what?
the comment
She's
it will be
feisty.
much harder for Donald Trump
She is feisty.
about her in her home state, Lindsay.
Now you know that they're starting to pull out the rumor mill on her. They're starting to say, hey, listen, you know, there's a lot of things in her past that it was an open secret. I'm not going to get into that on this show. I'm not going there about the infidelity rumors and all this other stuff. But the rumor mill is in full force. It's probably going to kick up in the next little bit. And she, at some point, I would imagine, will need to address it. But tonight, let's give her her flowers. If she can, again, if she can maintain that 8, 9, 10, maybe even better, then she's going to be a force. She's going to be a force. Sim says the question out there here is these street. Oh, she's for the streets. Sim, she's for the streets. That's what you say. Oh no, come on now. She's not for the street. That's a married woman now. Married to a soldier. She is not for the streets. That Sim. Now, again, you know, they said about infidelity for everybody except Hillary Clinton. They didn't think Hillary Clinton had any infidelity. You know, they were fine with her. But everybody else, you know, they bring out the infidelity. Look at the DA in the Trump RICO case. You know, she's old boys is she's having an affair with old boy, and you know that's going to pan out to see if that's true or not. But they bring out the infidelity stuff all the time. So sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. Pretty soon, President Trump is going to go and accept his victory. Going to make the victory lap. I am going to actually record that and put it out on my channel. I'm record that and put it on my channel to see if there's anything new there. But tonight was, as I said on the onset, tonight was all about expectation. So far, let me re-add you to go back to CNN to see if she can beat that. Looks like we have a little bit more of the voting in. Oh, guys. And you know, it's going back and forth, but with 20% of the vote in, I'm going to re-add that. She dropped to, let me go ahead and add it to the stream here. Look like she's going to a little bit over that 10%, just a little bit over. So she, again, 10% is the magic number right now. Trump is leading 54.4 to 44 even for Haley. Not that much of vote in though, 20% of the vote. So it all depends on where they're pulling the vote from. It's important that she outperforms. If she does, she gets the money, continue on. If she don't, sayonara. All right, guys, that is the show for tonight. It was a win-win for both parties, for both candidates. Trump has won. He wanted to be over 50%. Looked like he will be over 50%. Haley needs to. Oh, guys, Haley's dropping even lower. Well, we're going to see if Haley is going to make that 10%. Now, she may declare victory at 15%. She may say, hey, listen, I was over 20% down before the votes were counted, and I beat expectation with 15%. But if she can get to that 10%, that would be awesome. Let's see what this guy's saying.
Right? It's not like they'll crawl over broken glass for Nikki Haley because they believe so deeply in her. They think she has a shot, and if they conclude she doesn't, they'll go someplace else.
Ali Vitale is at the Haley campaign headquarters. She was there watching that speech unfold as well. Ali, talk to me about what stood out to you, because in the beginning, it almost sounded like she was going to say, I'm out of this race. But then she, again, just went straight after Donald Trump and didn't let her foot off the gas.
Yes, she did.
You know what, though? In Iowa, Tom, she started the same way by profusely thanking her family and the people who helped her get to this position in the first place, thanking her husband who's serving a tour overseas, thanking her kids for stepping up in the meantime, and thanking the governor of the state of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, who was a driving force behind the way that she barnstormed in this state in the closing week of the primary here. He was with her in diners, at coffee shops, and of course at town halls. Now, of course, Haley thanking him from this big stage and announcing early in the night that she's going to be staying in. It sort of reminded me of back in 2020 when Amy Klobuchar in Iowa came out early, said she did well enough to call it a win by her standards, and then moved on to New Hampshire. That's kind of what Haley is doing right here in New Hampshire, trying to just bounce on into what she keeps calling sweet South Carolina because it's her home state. I think your panel's right to point out it is a real slog there for a number of reasons, specifically the idea that there's less college plus age voters there, the idea that this is really a place that, as we were talking about before, was one of the first real places that we saw Trump country begin to show its power in 2016. Nevertheless, there were some parts of Nikki Haley's speech that really stood out to me, specifically just the general way that she is basically making an open invitation to anyone who, like her, voted for Trump twice, not served in his administration, though she points out that she did that for him as well, and liked his policies. She's now inviting them, hey, if you like all those things and you voted for him twice, I will offer you those things without the chaos, without the court cases, without, in her words, the senior moments, talking about Trump in the most direct fashion that we've heard her do it, challenging him to debate her, challenging him in some ways to take a mental fitness or mental acuity test. She said that on the day that she announced her presidential bid almost a year ago in South Carolina. She said, if you are over 75, you should be taking a mental fitness test. Clearly, she's challenging Trump on that front now almost directly. This is a real moment where we're watching Nikki Haley take her most direct shots at Trump yet, but we're also watching her make age the key issue here in this race.
Yep.
It's almost the thing that she says with reluctance and a little twinge of sadness, that she almost hates to be saying this about her rival, but it is the seed that she's continued to plant in the minds of voters, both here in New Hampshire and, of course, down the rest of the primary calendar as she goes. That's the one thing that Trump's not going to be able to change. He's not going to be able to change how old he is, and frankly, neither is Joe Biden.
And that's the key right there, guys, is that Trump is not going to be able to change how that's going to be the narrative, I think, going further. Trump, to be fair, for a 70-plus-year-old guy, I mean, he's in phenomenal shape. You know, my dad is around that age, and, you know, late 70s, early 80s, and he is in nowhere near as good of a shape, both physically and potentially mentally as Trump. You know, Trump gets out there, he plays X amount of rounds of golf whenever he can. He keeps a phenomenal schedule, so you got to give it to him. But what's the saying? Father Time remains undefeated, and that he's not going to get any younger. And those mental gaffes that he's making will probably continue. So that's a valid point that Nikki Haley can hammer in. Now, on the other side, Trump has been hammering in, she's not ready. She's not ready. Basically saying that she is too young, too naive, too inexperienced to be president. She's not tough enough. That's what he's saying. She don't have the balls. She's not tough enough to be president. That is his. That's his point. And to be fair, she has no presidential experience. So that's going to be the narrative moving forward. That's going to be the narrative moving forward. And both candidates have a point. Both candidates has a point. And so depending on who gets out the messaging first, better, who has money to stay in there, is going to be the candidate who survives. Now let's rejoin and see what we can do to. Well, they keep cutting. I was going to add her back on her speech, but they keep cutting it out and not giving the full speech. Sim says the global community has to fear the president as well. So that is true, Sim. She has to go over there and deal with, the global community, particular Putin, but also to a lesser degree some of the other players. Now, when she go over there, though, she has the full weight and might of the United States military. So, do you think? My question is, do you think that will be her hedge? Do you think that, one of those crazy Ivan moments where she just go in there and just blows up everything? Not blow up everything. Let me retract that. Let me take that back. That she has a strategic strike, maybe a couple of strategic strikes, and will that give her a little gravitas? Will that grow her, her in the mind of these guys? Will that give her the appearance of being a hawk? Because guess what? She is a hawk. She's a hawk. Sim says overcompensation can arise. Yeah, well, that's true. But she's a hawk. She is. When she was at the UN, she was known as a hawk. She had tough negotiations in the past. So she's a hawk.
Is the Trump campaign focusing on South Carolina the same
But
way that Haley
they may try her. They may try her, but she is a hawk. All right, with some more of the vote in. Let's see, we got 23% of the vote in. She is right around that 10% mark. 54.9 Trump, 43.6, so almost 44. So 54-44, 10, 11 points. It's going to be coming down to the ride. But I tell you what, if she overperforms and have 9% or better, as I keep saying, I think that she can declare victory and continue on. What do you think, Sim? Let me know.
Play a flex move to try to show that even in her own state, there are so many elected officials who are sticking with him, and picking him over Trump. I mean, the latest example, Congresswoman Mace, I mean, she's from arguably one of the more moderate parts of the state. She barely won her election the first time in 2020, and even she decided to endorse Trump instead of Haley.
They kiss in the
really
ring.
telling and flexes there, as you say. Mary Alice Parks, our thanks to you. And as it has been stated, ABC News is projecting that Donald Trump will win the New Hampshire primary. Former President Donald Trump is, of course, juggling a campaign for the White House, along with several criminal and civil court cases, including an election interference trial. ABC's Aaron Katersky joins.
All right, so they're going to get away from the election results, and I don't want to even go there, guys. We're going to cover the trial, Trump's legal problems, and but that's not tonight. Tonight is we're going to give the guys their flowers. Nikki Haley, let's face it, overperformed, and that's going to bode well for her. Trump won, and that's going to bode well for him. Tomorrow I'm going to report on the final results to see if she broke that single-digit margin, which will be the key to her moving forward. But for now, it's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. Both of them can walk away and say, hey, listen, I did well in New Hampshire. Sim says that she should keep going if she has the momentum. That's correct. That's correct. And it looks like tonight that she's going to have the momentum to keep going. All right, guys. So thank you guys for joining me tonight for the primary, the New Hampshire primary. It was really exciting. It had little drama and still going to have some drama later on. Again, Nikki Haley, if she beats expectation, if it holds up to where she's around that 10%, she's going to be a problem. She's going to be a problem. Mark my words. As always, salute, stay grinding. I'll see you guys on the next one.